We've got lots of people coming in already. We've got 30 some people coming in here. Great job, everyone. Everyone's looking to find out how they can help their cardiovascular health through their gut. Very excited to have all of you with us tonight on a, depending where you're located, a snowy Thursday night. So I'm just going to mention to everybody, as we're letting people in, we did have almost 400 people register for the talk tonight with Caroline. We are at about 60 or so people that have come in. So I do just want to give it a little bit of a minute or two just to let people, if they're just grabbing their water or their notepad, whatever they might be grabbing. Now we're up to 63, so we'll just give it a few minutes. But I did want to mention to everybody, I'm not sure how familiar you are with Zoom. However, you will notice at the bottom of your screen that there will be an option for a chat or a Q&A. And so we're just going to say that if you have any questions at all during the presentation, you can just pop those into the Q&A or the chat. I'll be checking both of them. And then at the end of Caroline's talk tonight, we will go through some as we go. And then if there's any left over at the end, we can go through those. If anyone's feeling brave and they want to put in the chat or the Q&A, what's your closest Nutter store? You guys came in here through Nutters. I'm curious, was it Red Deer? Was it Prince Albert? Where's your closest Nutters? Let's see if people know how to use the chat or the Q&A. There we go. Lethbridge, Kamloops, Medicine Hat, Kamloops, Airdrie, Melfort, Red Deer, Cochrane, Airdrie again, Medicine Hat, Kamloops, Prince Albert, Airdrie, Lethbridge. Holy moly, you guys are fast. I can't even keep up. North Battleford, Prince Albert, Red Deer, Camrose, Kamloops. Great. So great to see so many people from all over the place. I'll tell you, I'm in Calgary and it's been snowing for 2 days. So I've been shoveling off and on. We've got someone in here from Leduc. What's it like there in Ontario, Caroline?
We had snow a couple of days ago. It's melting. It's a little chilly, but it's not so bad. So I can't complain. It's spring.
Yeah, not here, not quite. Sylvan Lake, excellent, excellent. Okay, guys, you guys obviously know how to use the chat and the Q&A. We're over 70 people, so I'm going to get started here, Caroline. And, I was looking at your bio and I see, 18 years that you've been like the lead educator for Renew Life. So how did you get back in the day? How did you get into this?
I got into it because of my own poor health. I was very sick. I was tired all the time. I had overwhelming cravings for sugar, and I was falling asleep every time I ate. And it was quite embarrassing. I was working as a project manager at the time for American Express, and I was a global project manager, and I was falling asleep on the calls that I was managing. So it was pretty embarrassing. And I went to the doctor and I said, what's wrong? What's going on with me? And he diagnosed me. I was very sick. Actually, I had a lot of nausea and diarrhea too. And he said, you probably have IBS and you might want to go see a psychiatrist. So I was like, wow, you kind of are implying that it's all in my head. And a friend of mine was a registered holistic nutritionist. And she said, I think you have candida, which is an overgrowth of yeast in the body. And I started reading up about it. I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. And I went to a homeopath and she did some electrodermal testing on me. She found that it was indeed candida and parasites. And then I started doing Renew Life's Candy Gone, which is helps with yeast overgrowth as well as urinary tract infections. And I started it and it worked really well for me. I went back to school, became a registered holistic nutritionist, and I never looked back. And I've been with Renew Life ever since. So it was my silver lining to Candida, getting me into this industry. And I've been with Renew Life ever since. So I know every one of our products. I've used every one of our products. So if I'm talking about something tonight and it's not something that you're currently using and you have questions, I have no problems answering any questions for you about our products at the end. All right. My name is Caroline Farquhar, and I'm the National Training Manager for Renew Life. I'm also a registered holistic nutritionist. And I'm going to talk to you tonight about gut check for cardiovascular health. And it's going to navigate the relationship between your intestines and your heart. And I don't think a lot of people really take that into account when they're thinking of heart health. Are they really thinking that it maybe starts in the gut? So we're going to talk about inflammation and the immune response, metabolism, regulation of blood pressure, short chain fatty acids and their importance. We'll talk about lipid metabolism, insulin sensitivity and metabolic disorders, dysbiosis, inflammation, and gut health. We'll talk about how to achieve good gut health, how Renew Life can help. And so let's get right into it. Microbiota composition and cardiovascular risk. What is the link? It doesn't seem apparent, but it is significant. The relationship between the composition of the gut microbiota and cardiovascular diseases is an emerging area of research. So, an imbalanced gut bacteria can trigger inflammation. It really does come back to inflammation. And when it's chronic, it leads to conditions like arthritis and atherosclerosis. So, when we think of inflammation, there's two types of inflammation. We have the acute inflammation, which is when maybe you've smacked your thumb and it gets red and it swells up. That's acute. Then there's the chronic or silent inflammation, and that's happening at a cellular level. It's happening over a long period of time, and that's the one that can lead to things like the arthritis and the atherosclerosis. So over time, if it's not being controlled, then it can lead to further issues. And a lot of times that inflammation does start in the gut. The bacteria in your gut makes different substances, and it manages how your immune system responds. An unhealthy balance of gut bacteria can cause inflammation, which is a factor that contributes to the development and the worsening of heart disease. So again, some of it can be genetic too. So if you're genetically predisposed, this could make the problem worse. Chronic low-grade inflammation is associated with a buildup of plaque in the arteries, otherwise known as atherosclerosis. And gut microbiota also play a crucial role in maintaining a balanced immune system. So I'm going to get to that in just a moment and kind of show you what we mean when we say 70% of the immune system is in the gut. I'll show you exactly what that looks like. The gut microbiota have a crucial role in the maintenance of immune homeostasis, and that means the balance in the intestinal tract. So changes in the gut bacteria and their byproducts have been identified in various immune-related inflammatory conditions. The gut microbiota have a critical role in the maintenance of immune homeostasis, which refers to the balance and stability maintained within the immune system. And it ensures that it functions effectively without overreacting or underreacting to threats. So metabolites from gut bacteria affect various types of immune cells like the T and B cells, dendritic cells, as well as macrophage. And changes in gut bacteria and their byproducts have been identified in various immune-related inflammatory conditions, such as inflammatory bowel disease, diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, as well as lupus. When I was talking about 70% of the immune system is in the gut, this is what it looks like. This is your gut-associated lymphoid tissue, or GALT. And it all works together to defend against harmful pathogens. It involves good bacteria competing with pathogens, while mucin and defensins protect the gut lining. Dendritic cells absorb bacterial products, and immune cells like macrophage and natural killer cells patrol the area. When needed, the immune system is activated to fight off threats. But if this defense fails, it can lead to inflammation or autoimmune issues, especially in genetically susceptible individuals. So I'm not sure if you're familiar about leaky gut or intestinal permeability, but this is where the problem happens. When you have a leaky gut or you have intestinal permeability, they're kind of interchangeable terms. Then you have holes in your intestinal tract, and then you have things that are going into your bloodstream that shouldn't be there. And I have another slide later that will show that a bit better. Gut bacteria contribute to the metabolism of dietary components, including certain types of fats. The byproducts of these metabolic processes such as short chain fatty acids can have systemic effects on metabolism and cardiovascular health. Some gut bacteria are involved in the production of trimethylamine N oxide, or TMAO, and that's a compound linked to an increased risk in atherosclerosis as well as cardiovascular events. And TMAO is formed when gut bacteria metabolize certain nutrients found in red meat and other animal products. And that's why doctors tell you to cut out the red meat or cut it down, because this bacteria is metabolizing these nutrients found in the red meat and other animal products. So that's the reason they were telling you not to eat so much. Gut microbiota may influence blood pressure as well, and it does that through different things. Short chain fatty acids, so imbalances in the gut microbial community, have been associated with hypertension. Short chain fatty acids produced by the gut through the fermentation of dietary fibers, which is why fiber is so important in our diet, they may have a role in blood pressure regulation by influencing vascular function. So we'll talk a little bit more about short chain fatty acids in a moment. They also help with regulation of inflammation. Imbalances in gut microbiota composition can lead to inflammation, which is associated with hypertension. So again, we're talking inflammation, inflammation, inflammation. Certain bacterial species produce metabolites that modulate immune responses and inflammation, potentially affecting blood pressure regulation. And they also help with the production of vasoactive compounds. The gut bacteria can produce various bioactive compounds, including peptides and neurotransmitters that influence vascular function as well as blood pressure. So there's a lot of neurotransmitters that the gut bacteria interact with, and one of them is norepinephrine, which has a big effect on vascular function. And then there's also modulation of the RAS, which is the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. The gut microbiota can influence the RAS, which is a hormonal system that regulates blood pressure and fluid balance. Dysregulation of the RAS is implicated in hypertension, and the gut microbiota may play a role in its modulation. So I didn't know all of this stuff before I started researching for this presentation. I really didn't understand how important good gut bacteria and good balance of bacteria in your gut was to your overall health. And here's a really interesting diagram that kind of shows the gut bacteria and what they do. So gut bacteria help ferment things that we can't digest, such as dietary fibers, as well as intestinal mucus. This fermentation process helps special microbes grow, which make short chain fatty acids and gases. And the main short chain fatty acids produced are acetate, butyrate, and propionate, which we'll talk about in a second. But if you look at this chart, I'm going to look off to the left here because it's bigger on that screen for me. If you've got altered pH, so I'm looking into the red section here. So we've got altered pH at the top there, maybe excessive protein consumption, sugar, fructose intake, saturated fatty acid intake, and proton pump inhibitors. So those are all things that are coming into your body that maybe aren't so helpful. Then you might have a decrease in your short chain fatty acid production, or an increase in your TMAO production, an increase in your LPS production, which is a lipopolysaccharide, or increased cardiovascular risk. Maybe there's gut inflammation or insulin resistance. Maybe there's cognitive decline, and then an increased risk of diarrhea. So that's on the disease side. That's the red side. We want to be more towards the teal color there. So we want good dietary fiber intake. So for adults, we should be getting anywhere between 25 and 35 grams of fiber every day. Good probiotic intake. So taking a probiotic every day, I like to refer to it as a multivitamin for your gut. It's an easy way to know that you're going to get the bacteria that you need. So taking it in a capsule form, you can see what strains are on there. You can see the amount of each strain that's in there, and the amount of the total probiotics in the capsule. So it's more a guaranteed way of knowing what you're getting. So then you're going to have an increase in short chain fatty acid production, increase in antioxidant production, indoxyl sulfate goes down, improved lipid metabolism, you've got lower gut inflammation, better insulin sensitivity, as well as a reduced risk of some infections. So you want to keep your gut happy and healthy. And we talk about the short chain fatty acids. And as I mentioned, they're produced when your friendly gut bacteria ferments fiber. So fiber's our friend. Fiber is very important to get into your diet every day. And there are three main types of short chain fatty acids that make up nearly 95% of all the short chain fatty acids in your body. And they would be acetate, propionate, as well as butyrate. So let's go on to acetate. Acetate, also known as acetic acid, helps regulate pH levels in the gut and regulates appetite, nourishes butyrate producing bacteria, and protects against pathogens. Acetate also has an effect on inflammation, lipid metabolism, insulin sensitivity, blood pressure regulation, as well as gut barrier function. Butyrate, also known as butyric acid, provides around 70% of the energy used by the colon cells. So very, very important to keep your colon healthy. It helps prevent leaky gut, reduces inflammation and the risk of colon cancer, and improves brain function and brain health. And butyrate has the following properties. It's anti-inflammatory, lipid lowering, endothelial protective, blood pressure regulating, antioxidant, as well as gut microbiota modulating effects. And lastly, we have propionate, and it's also known as propionic acid, and it's one of the lesser studied short chain fatty acids, but it's known to regulate appetite, reduce inflammation, lower cholesterol, reduce fat storage, and reduce the risk of cancer. And it has an effect on glucose and insulin regulation, lipid metabolism, appetite regulation, inflammation, blood pressure regulation, as well as gut barrier function. So short chain fatty acids, very important. How do we increase them? We eat more fiber. Your gut microbiota can influence how efficiently your body absorbs fats from the food that you eat, or how much of that fat gets stored away for later use. They're like helpful assistants that can either make it easier or harder for your body to manage its fat intake, depending on the types of bacteria present in your gut. So when you consume fats, your body needs to absorb them from your intestines and either use them for energy or store them for later. And your gut bacteria can influence this process in a few ways. So absorption, storage, and dysregulation of lipid metabolism is a risk factor. We know that it's a risk factor for cardiovascular disease. And the composition of the gut microbiota can affect levels of circulating lipids, such as cholesterol. Disruptions in the gut microbiota have been linked to insulin resistance and metabolic disorders, which are risk factors for cardiovascular disease. The bacteria living inside our gut play an important role in our body's ability to process sugar and fat. They produce certain substances that can help improve our insulin sensitivity and regulate our metabolism. However, if the balance of bacteria is disrupted, it can lead to inflammation, altered energy metabolism, and a weakened intestinal barrier, which can all contribute to problems like obesity and diabetes. When the balance of good bacteria and bad bacteria in your gut is off, it's referred to as dysbiosis, and it can lead to increased intestinal permeability or leaky gut. Bacteria and their byproducts can get into the bloodstream and trigger an inflammatory response. And that's what it looks like. So you can see on the left-hand side there, we've got nice tight junctions. We've got the toxins, the microorganisms, the gluten. They're all staying out of the bloodstream, which is exactly what we want. But if you have holes in your intestinal tract or leaky gut or it's inflamed, you can have these things come in through those leaky junctures, get into the bloodstream, and then you get an IgG immune response, an IgA reaction, and then your B and T cells release. And then you can end up with things like nutrient malabsorption, autoimmunity, food intolerance, blood-brain barrier breach, as well as systemic inflammation. So very key to keep your intestinal tract nice and strong and healthy. And an interesting thing that I learned when I was doing this, the research for this, is that studies in respected medical journals, such as the Lancet, the British Medical Journal, and the International Journal of Gastroenterology have suggested that leaky gut causes autoimmune diseases such as lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and many other diverse health issues, including allergies, autism, depression, eczema, psoriasis, and metabolic syndrome. So it's interesting that they're making that connection. And so again, we're going back to having a nice, strong, healthy gut and healthy gut lining. So how do you achieve good gut health? It's kind of like a puzzle. You want a healthy diet, exercise, adequate sleep, relaxation, and good quality supplements. So we'll go through them one by one. Are there any questions so far?
There is one in here that came in from the beginning there. She's just wondering if you're going to discuss parasites at all and various diets to help with parasites. So I know we're focusing on cardiovascular, but
I can definitely talk about that at the end. I can tell you from my own experience too. Yes, I can definitely talk about it. No problem.
okay, yeah, and that's the only question so far in there. So we'll answer that one a bit later.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So we've got heart healthy foods. Diet plays a major role in heart health and can impact your risk of heart disease. So according to the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, you want to be eating more vegetables, fruits, whole grains, dairy products. If you can't do dairy products, maybe the non-dairy ones. A lot of people can't tolerate dairy nowadays. You want to eat protein-rich foods like fish, those lean meats, eggs, nuts, legumes, and then the oils, those polyunsaturated and monounsaturated oils. So those are the foods that you want to stick to for heart health. And for overall health, it's not just heart health. Those are foods that are good like for gut health as well. Okay, I talked a lot about short chain fatty acids. So how do we boost the short chain fatty acids? And there's certain types of fiber found to significantly boost the production. So inulin, that's found in Jerusalem artichokes, chicory, dandelion greens, onions, garlic, leeks. So inulin, that's a really good source. Fructooligosaccharides, again, they're found in garlic, onions, artichokes, bananas. Pectin, you get that in a lot of fruits like apples, pears, apricots. Carrots have them as well. And then resistant starch. So they're formed when starchy foods such as potatoes and rice are cooked and then cooled. And they're also found in seeds, pardon me, legumes and unripe bananas. So there's a way that we can feed and boost these short chain fatty acids, which are so good for our colon health. Get moving. It seems so obvious, especially for heart health. We really do need, when they say doing cardio, it's literally helping your cardiovascular system, but it also helps with your gut too. Most bacteria in your gut support body functions, and our bodies support the health and growth of these microorganisms. Regular exercise accelerates this process, increasing the different kinds of microbial species in the gut and encourages bacteria to flourish. But of course, we also know that exercise plays a crucial role in maintaining heart health. So it will strengthen your heart muscle, it lowers your blood pressure, it improves cholesterol levels, it promotes weight management, improves blood sugar control, reduces inflammation, enhances circulation, promotes stress reduction, get those good endorphins going, strengthens the immune system, and improves heart rate and rhythm. So if nothing else, try to get moving a little more often. Going for walks, that counts. Taking the stairs instead of the escalator or the elevator. Find all the different ways that you might be able to get moving a bit more, and it will certainly help your heart as well as your gut. Prioritize sleep. If I was live in person with you, I would be asking everybody how many hours of sleep that they got, but it's a little harder when we're doing it online. Sufficient high quality sleep is essential to overall health and well-being. So the microbiome, like many other things in our body, is regulated by circadian rhythms. And new research shows that when circadian rhythms are disrupted, the health and functioning of the microbiome will suffer as well. But sleep also plays a crucial role in cardiovascular health. Quality sleep is essential for maintaining a healthy heart and reducing the risk of cardiovascular disease. So it helps with blood pressure regulation, heart rate regulation, inflammation reduction. It helps with blood sugar regulation, as well as weight management and stress reduction. And I don't know if anybody suffers from sleep apnea. I do. I've had a CPAP for almost 2 years now. And before I realized that I had sleep apnea, I would stop breathing for about 30 seconds at a time. And it was happening, I think 40 times an hour. It was a lot. And my blood pressure was through the roof and I wasn't getting enough oxygen. I was super cranky every day. I was like a toddler that needed a nap. I was sleeping about 6 times a day. It was crazy. I didn't know what it was. And then finally, it was my dentist that could tell by the amount of wear that I had on my teeth. Um, I was grinding and clenching to wake myself up. So once I got a CPAP machine, it changed my life literally overnight. It's not fun to wear, but I will never sleep without it now. So again, it just shows you how important sleep is and how important prioritizing it is in your life. And of course, when you're sleeping, there's a lot of repair and recovery happening within your body. So you need good quality sleep to even be able to do that. So prioritize sleep. There's a lot of different websites you can go on that talk about sleep hygiene. So everything from making sure that you're going to bed at the same time every night, wearing comfortable pajamas, making sure that your room is a certain temperature, doing relaxing things before you go to bed. Don't watch the news or scroll through social media before you go to bed. That will just stress you out. So lots of great ideas out there to help you prioritize sleep. And this is my Seamus. He prioritizes sleep like nobody's business. He's a 21-year-old Scottish fold, and he is my baby. And he knows all about relaxation, and he helps me relax. So, if you've got pets in your life, for the most part, I would hope that they really relax you and make you feel better. Mind over matter is not simply a catchphrase. It's a truth based on what we know to be fact, that the brain, given the right set of directions, the right environment, and the proper stimuli, will always choose healing over disease. So do yourself a favor. You want to make relaxation and rest a priority in your life. So try calming activities, whether it's yoga, deep breathing, meditation, knitting, walking, hugging a tree, whatever it is for you. Try to add that into your life more often. It's going to help your gut. It's going to help your heart. It's going to help your brain. It's just going to help your whole nervous system settle down. One of the things that I do that's helped me a lot, the vagus nerve is what stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest nervous system. And one of the things I learned was from Peter Levine, and it's called VU breathing. And you go VU, and it's the stimulation of your vagus nerve. You can feel it when you say VU. Everybody try it out there. VU. You can feel it on the front of your neck. You can feel it on the back of your neck. But even the as you're saying VU, where it hits on your lip, it just stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system to kick in, and it relaxes you. So I had to do a really big presentation last September in Toronto, and I was so nervous. And it takes me about an hour to drive downtown from where I am. And I was doing my VU breathing the whole way. So I would breathe in and I'd go VU. And I would say that I would VU out longer than I breathed in. That's the key, is to breathe out a bit longer than you breathe in. And by the time I got there, I was so relaxed. I was yawning. I just felt fantastic. And I gave like one of the best talks I've ever done. And it's something I try to remember, like if I'm stressed out in traffic or, for any reason I'm stressed out, I just try to remember to do my VU breathing. So whatever it is for you, find what works for you and do it, and be mindful of where your body's at and where your stress levels are. Because if you can get that calm down, it really goes a long way to helping both your gut and your heart. Are there any questions? I see the numbers creeping up. I just don't know if there's any questions out there.
Yeah, there's one question here. How does FLW help with healing the gut?
FLW. What is FLW?
Well, it just says FLW. I'm not, maybe it's fiber. I don't know. So I'm not sure. Maybe Shirley and Tim, you can elaborate. And then another question is, what are your thoughts on lectins and their effect on leaky gut?
Oh, a lot of people have problems with lectins. Yeah, and SIBO and things like that. So people that have to avoid those foods, and same with someone who's like gluten intolerant or celiac is definitely you cannot eat any gluten. But the people that need to stay away from those foods like the lectins and the things that could be inflammatory to some people, keep them out of your diet. So find I'm a nutritionist that is it's not everything to everybody. You find what works for you. What might work for me, what might be my medicine could be someone else's poison. So if you find that you're doing something like for some people inulin is brutal. Like we know that inulin is fantastic for feeding short chain fatty acids, but we know that some people can't tolerate them, cause a lot of gas and bloating and distension, and they just can't tolerate it. So that's not the fiber that they would take. Maybe they might take an acacia fiber, which is a lot more gentle type of fiber. It's still a soluble fiber, but it's going to be more gentle on the intestinal tract.
Okay, there is just a mention here, excellent information. You're moving through very quickly. Is there handouts? So there will be, we are recording the session tonight. So tomorrow, we will be sending out a copy of the recording to everyone who's attended and everyone who signed up who maybe couldn't attend tonight. So yes, definitely you'll have access to the information after tonight. And then another question here, if not covered, antibiotics, when absolutely required, are supposed to kill your gut biome as a result. What can we do to minimize and or boost back quickly to a good gut biome after antibiotics?
That will be what we can start talking about next. That's a
Oh,
perfect question. It dovetails kind of what we're going to talk about next.
okay, so did you want me to go
Okay.
to the next question or do you want to just continue and we'll
Is the next question related to what we just talked about, or is it going to be, can you, I don't know what the question
yeah,
is.
this one is definitely. It says, what was the name of the condition that Caroline said she was diagnosed with by her naturopath?
Oh, when I first got in the industry, it was candida, which is an overgrowth of yeast in the body, and
Okay.
parasites.
And parasites. Okay,
Yeah.
there we
And the
go.
thing that I was diagnosed with when I was sleeping was sleep apnea, and it was my dentist that found that.
Okay, excellent. Is there a way to tell what you're reacting to, or is it just trial and error?
Well, yeah, you can do an elimination diet if you suspect there's a certain, so there's a few ways to do this. One thing that you can do is you can track what you eat every day and how you feel when you eat it. So, if you're suspecting a certain food, that's the one you certainly would want to pay attention to. And then you would do an elimination diet. So you take out the offending foods. A lot of times, nutritionists, the first things they'll take out is wheat and dairy. A lot of people do have reactions to those two food groups for sure. So we would take them out and give your body a bit of time, a bit of break, see how you do. Are you feeling better? And then slowly introduce one thing at a time. You don't want to introduce too much because then you don't know what is going to be affecting you. So then we would reintroduce something. Okay, if you're reacting to gluten, then yeah, you're going to want to maybe look for foods that don't include any gluten or wheat. And then same with dairy. And there's the great thing is nowadays there's so many alternatives out there. When I first got in the industry, it was not as much, but now there's some great alternatives out there, like noodles. When I had to give up carbs for when I was getting rid of candida, so the overgrowth of yeast in the body, they feed on, pardon me, on sugars and on carbohydrates. So I had to cut all that out. And back in the day, pardon me, they didn't have kelp noodles. Kelp noodles are great. Here's a trick with kelp noodles, everybody, that was a game changer for me. I don't know if anybody's eaten them, but they're quite crunchy. How do you make them nice and soft like regular noodles? Soak them in vinegar and baking soda. So you squeeze sorry, not vinegar, sorry, lemon. Squeeze lemon into a bowl, add some baking soda, and then put the noodles in there, the kelp noodles in there, and then stir them up, and they get soft like regular noodles. It's the only way to do it. It's really cool. You'll probably see videos of it online, but it doesn't have any of the carbs. Like it's from kelp. So you get that texture of the noodles that you're looking for, but you're not going to have the carbohydrates that you're trying to avoid. So just a little hint there.
Yeah, that's a good tip to know. And just to get clarification here, FLW, how does it help with healing the gut? And what that is it's an oral chelation product. So do you know anything about that product?
I don't, so I wouldn't be able to speak on that, but your Nutter's store employees might be able to help you with that.
Okay. All right. We're caught up on questions, so I'll give it back
All
to you.
righty. Okay. So we're going to talk about a few products tonight, but as I mentioned, if there's any other Renew Life products that you have questions about, like Paragon, we'll talk about that at the very end. We've been in Canada since 2002, and since 2003, we've won over 115 Alive Awards, and they are voted on by both consumers and retailers. So they're quite popular because they work. They're really efficacious. We are quality, purity, and potency guaranteed right till date of expiry. So we have finished product specifications that are created that outline the testing of microorganisms, heavy metals, pesticides, residual solvents, allergens, as well as any medicinal ingredients for assay testing. Now, someone earlier was talking about how do we reintroduce good bacteria when we're on antibiotics? It comes down to probiotics, the opposite of antibiotics. And when you're looking at a probiotic, it can get a bit confusing. Like, which one do you use? There's so many different brands out there. There's a lot of different products within each brand. So I know it's confusing and overwhelming. I've been doing this for a long time and I get confused and overwhelmed still. So it comes down to strain. And all probiotic strains are not created equal. So you want to make sure you're using the right strain for the right job. So I'm going to use a dog for an example, because this is the easiest way to get your head around it. So when it's a probiotic, it might say Lactobacillus acidophilus LA14. What on earth does that mean? Well, the genus would be the Lactobacillus. So in the case of a dog, the genus would be Canis. So think all canines. Familiaris would be the species. So think coyote versus dog. And then the strain would be Chihuahua versus German Shepherd. So if you're trying to guard a warehouse, chances are you're not going to use the Chihuahua. You're probably going to use the German Shepherd. So you want to make sure that you're using the right strain for the right job. And we use multiple strain formulas. So our formulas have 12 different strains in them, and they help build diverse ecosystems within our microbiome. So different strains will do different things. So the more strains you have, the more chances that you have of getting the strain that you need. So think of it like more shots on goal. So I'm going to talk about 2 probiotics, but we do have, I think, 7 amongst our adult and kids formulas, but we'll focus on 2 today. So the Extra Care probiotic is a shelf-stable formula that helps provide daily support to your body's digestive system. So this one is 12 probiotic strains, and it helps support digestive health and helps reduce the frequency of occasional constipation, flatulence, as well as irregularity. It helps to reduce the risk of developing upper respiratory tract illness in physically active adults. And it contains Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG, which is the #1 most studied probiotic strain. It's contained in delayed release capsules, which helps to survive through the stomach acid. So it's not going to sit in your stomach and die off because, of course, they're live bacteria. So you don't want them to die off in the stomach. And the bottle is what's called a Stay Fresh bottle. I don't have one with me. No, I don't. And it blocks up moisture, ensuring quality and potency. So the bottle is very, very hard. So moisture's not going to come in from the outside. But when you open up the bottle, it's got a thick lining, and that lining is a desiccant lining. So a lot of products will have desiccant canisters or sachets which absorb the water or absorb moisture into it. In this case, when you open the bottle itself will absorb the moisture so it doesn't go into the product. So it helps to block out the moisture. And there's 2 of the killers of probiotics are heat and moisture. So you want to be able to manage those. We are quality, purity, and potency guaranteed right through expiration. So these products are shelf stable, but a lot of people and a lot of stores choose to keep it in the fridge. That is absolutely not a problem. So whether it's in the fridge or on the shelf, it's guaranteed potent right till date of expiry. And they are gluten, dairy, and soy-free formulas and non-GMO project verified. So that would be a good everyday probiotic. We do have one that we would recommend after antibiotic use, or actually, no, sorry, during antibiotic use. And the reason I say during antibiotic use is you want to make sure that you're taking it 2 to 3 hours away from your antibiotics, but you want to make sure you're taking it in the same day. So as you're pulling the bad weeds with the antibiotics, you want to be planting the good seeds with the probiotics. So we have an ultimate flora ultimate potent product that is 100 billion CFU. In this case, it's 50 billion CFU, which is 50 billion colony forming units, or good bugs, as my dad used to say. So this is 50 billion, but we do have that 100 billion formula, which would be better for antibiotic use because it's going to get the good bacteria into your system a little more quickly. Now we do have one for women too, and this one's a little unique. It's got probiotic strains that are scientifically proven and backed by 25 years of clinical research in feminine health. So this one has some pretty unique claims on it. So it is 12 probiotic strains, but in this case, it helps maintain, promote, and support healthy vaginal pH, yeast, urinary tract, vaginal flora, and feminine health. So not only does it help with gut health, but it's going to help with urogenital tract as well. And it can be used in conjunction with antibiotics to help treat bacterial vaginosis. And it helps promote regularity by reducing constipation. And it also has those great benefits that the other probiotic has. So the delayed release capsules, the stay fresh bottle, quality, purity, and potency guaranteed, gluten, dairy, and soy free, as well as non-GMO project verified. Now, if you're hesitant about trying our probiotics, you think, you know what, I'm not quite sure. We do have a 60-day money back guarantee. So if you're not 100% satisfied with the quality of our Renew Life probiotic purchase, we do want to know. Let us know. Two things you need to keep in mind. You want to keep the original bottle and keep the original receipt. You have to have those two to be able to get your refund. And you would just call us at our toll-free number or get in touch with us through our website. So you can contact us directly, or I'm not sure exactly what Nutter's return policy is, but let's say there's this 30 days, this is 60 days. So you can try it right up until the last dose. And if you're not really seeing a difference that you're looking for, then we will give you your money back. So it's a great way to try it risk-free. And the great thing is we don't have very many people doing any returns, so we know it works. Now, fiber, we talked about it. We talked about how important fiber is. I like to refer to fiber as a sponge. So the rough side is the insoluble fiber. That's the fiber that's like the roughage that will scrub a pot or a pan. So it does not dissolve in water or break down in the digestive system. It also provides bulk to strengthen and tone the muscles of the bowel and helps to sweep the walls of the bowel clean. That's the type of fiber that I would always recommend for people who have constipation because it really helps to strengthen and tone the muscles of the bowel, which in some cases might become a little bit lazy, especially with constipation. And then there's the soluble fiber. That's like the soft soaking up side of the sponge. And that breaks down in water and forms a gel and helps trap waste for removal from the body. And being a digestive care company, we have a really good flax-based dietary fiber supplement, and it has both soluble and insoluble fiber in it. It's a flax-based fiber, but it also has guar gum and acacia gum as well. So it's a really good all-around formula. And this one provides fiber content to your diet and aids in overall digestive health and can be added as a powder to water or juice or taken in capsule form. Because it's flax based, it's kind of got that nutty flax flavor. So some people don't like to take powders, and then you can just take it in a capsule form. And then a healthy gut lining is really important. When we're talking about leaky gut or intestinal permeability, this is what a healthy small intestine looks like. And this is where leaky gut occurs. The intestinal lining plays an important role in maintaining host health. It acts as a mucosal barrier to microorganisms while permitting a pathway to protein antigens and small molecule metabolites. So here are some cool facts for you. It is about 22 feet long. So even though it's called the small intestine, it's actually longer than the large intestine. The large intestine or your colon, that's called large because it's wider in diameter, but this is much longer. And if you were to stretch out all of these microvilli, those finger-like projections are called microvilli, and that's what absorbs your nutrients into your bloodstream. If you were to stretch all of that out, 2,700 square feet, that's pretty incredible, just in your small little intestinal tract here. And that would cover pretty much the size of a tennis court. So it's pretty interesting. And this is due to all of those folds that you see there. And they help to increase the surface area so that you can absorb nutrients into your body. So very, very important that we keep this nice and strong and working efficiently. And we have intestinu. And this is a formula used to support the integrity and healthy function of the intestinal lining. It's made with L-glutamine and acetylglucosamine, as well as soothing ingredients that support a healthy intestinal lining. And it can be used by anyone who wishes to improve their intestinal health. So it's really easy to take. You just take 1 scoop in the morning, mix it in water on an empty stomach. It's key to take it on an empty stomach. I know a lot of people take L-glutamine, and there's 5,000 milligrams of L-glutamine per scoop in here. A lot of people take L-glutamine when they're working out for muscle recovery. In this case, you want to make sure you're taking it on an empty stomach if you're trying to deal with intestinal integrity. The other thing to note is that because of the N-acetylglucosamine, it doesn't mix completely. It's kind of gritty. It will never mix completely because of that ingredient. So you just swish it around and then just keep chugging it back. It's got ginger in there, so it's got this ginger flavor. It tastes quite nice. Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite products. This is good, like if you've been dealing with leaky gut, or if you've had candida or parasites where they've done damage to your intestinal tract, this is a really, really good product that you could take afterwards. The human body wants to be in balance. It wants to be healthy. Support it with the right nutrients, water, exercise, supplements, rest, and play, and it will cleanse, reconstruct, and keep you safe. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with me. And I will take lots of questions. I will stay as long as you need me to. And I will stop sharing. I don't know if anybody's on camera. I'm going to stop sharing in case anybody has any questions and they're on camera, then I can see them.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can go on camera because it's in a
Oh,
webinar mode, but
okay.
that would have
That's
been
why.
nice. But
Okay.
there are definitely some questions here in the chat, so I can go through them with you.
Okay.
So does the women's probiotic help prevent UTIs?
I don't know exactly in the studies. I think that it has shown that it can. I don't know exactly what all of the like all the parameters of that study are. I can tell you since we've had it, we've had amazing feedback. Like people that used to get it on a regular basis, or they used to get yeast infections on a regular basis, aren't getting those problems anymore. So I can say, like, anecdotally, that's what I've been hearing out there. But study wise, I don't know. I'd have to look into the studies and find out exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Question, do you recommend taking probiotics regularly, even if you're not on antibiotics? And if so, what strength would you recommend?
It depends on the person, depends on your diet, your lifestyle, your stress levels. If you're under a lot of stress and you might not be eating so great, a probiotic probably wouldn't be a bad idea. I usually go off a lot of my supplements in the summer personally, because that's when I'm out in the sun more. I'm a lot more active. I'm eating food like right from like fresh food. So for me, I that's personally what I've done for most of my life. And I will always go back on a probiotic in August. Why? Because back to school starts in September. And that's when all the germs get passed around. So the kids get sick. They make each other sick. They come home. They give it to the parents. Parents going to work. Everybody at work gets sick, and we call it the cold and flu season. It's basically going back to school season. And then you've got Halloween, which will paralyze your immune system with the sugar. And then you've got Christmas. So I would take a probiotic pretty much. I start in August, and then I'll stop pretty over the next couple of months is when I'm going to probably maybe go off. And then I'm eating more fermented foods and stuff like that. So everybody, you know, they find what works for them. Some people, if they've got issues where they need a little more support, they might need to take a probiotic ongoing, or if they've, you know, been on, it's not just antibiotics that throw off your bacteria. It could be things like steroids as well. So there's other medications that can throw things off. So check with your healthcare practitioner and make sure you're taking them about 2 to 3 hours away from each other.
Okay. What's the best source of fiber?
Oh, flax is a really good balanced source of fiber because you got both soluble and insoluble, but some people can't tolerate the insoluble fiber, which would be like that scratchy type of fiber. Let's say you've got IBS-D, which is IBS with diarrhea. You might not be able to tolerate that scratchy fiber. So chances are you might not use that one. So you might go to like an acacia fiber or something like that, which is a lot more easy on the digestive tract.
Okay. Any side effects to taking the probiotics?
If you overdose or take too many, and I've got a funny story attached to this, your body would probably, you might get a little bit crampy, like your stomach might cramp up a little bit. Basically, the bacteria trying to work it out in your gut, and you'll probably get loose stools. Your body will just flush it out. I was working on customer service once, and we have a probiotic for kids that is a 10 billion formula, and it's a chewable, and it tastes fantastic. And I had a woman call me up, and she said, I found my son and he's eaten 15 of these. I thought, oh no. So I said, well, chances are he might get an upset tummy, maybe not, but chances are he's probably taken too many probiotics and he's probably just going to have loose stools. And she said, oh, well, we're going over to my in-laws now. And I said, well, you better tell them you've got a ticking time bomb there. So those are the biggest things, but it depends on, again, on where you're at. I was in Africa. I had cholera and E. coli. I was taking an incredibly high amount of probiotics when I came back to get the good bacteria back into my body again. So a good daily dose. So I showed you the extra care probiotics we have. We have a women's formula that's 25 billion. And we have the everyday regular one, like in the blue box, we have a 30 billion dose. So if you want to go on the lower end, those are the two that I would suggest.
Excellent. How long do you need to use intestine?
Ooh, it depends. So for myself, I had candida and parasites really bad. I knew I had leaky gut. I had every symptom in the book, and I took it for 10 months. So the three things you take to help with leaky gut is an essential fatty acid that helps with inflammation. Take a probiotic to put the good bacteria back into your intestinal tract, and then the intestine is going to kind of help heal it. So those three things together work really well. For myself, it took about 10 months. It took a long time. So it depends on your issue. For me, my tell was tomatoes. Every time I ate tomatoes, I'd get a stuffy nose. By the time I was able to I wouldn't say heal. I don't know if I can say heal, but I thought I got healed. It felt pretty good. I could eat tomatoes again. I wasn't having any issues with tomatoes. I didn't get any more stuffy nose every time I ate it. So for me, I knew that was my tell. So if there's something that's telling you I've got leaky gut, I'm reacting every time I eat this food, let that food be your guide of when it's all nice and happy again.
Okay. When is the best time to take a probiotic?
Great question. And it's a question I get for many, many years across the country. My answer to that, because ours are delayed release capsules, um, whenever you're going to remember to take it, honestly. But here's some little key things that can help. If you're constipated, I find that people who take it at night before they go to bed, it helps with constipation a bit more. It helps with a good bowel movement in the morning. If you're someone like me who has issues with digesting food and you get gas and bloating when you eat and you find that you feel a little heavy after you eat, I take enzymes, but I still have problems digesting food. It's been an issue I've had my whole life. So I take my probiotic when I eat because it helps me break down my food. So that works for me. Some people want to take it first thing in the morning and make sure they got the good soldiers in there for the rest of the day. So when it comes right down to it, if there's a condition that you're dealing with that you know it's going to help, if you take it at a certain time, then take it then. But other than that, whenever you're going to remember to take it, like put it, because it's shelf stable, you can put it, let's say you've got salt and pepper on the table. You put it next to your salt and pepper, or maybe you put it first thing in the morning, you put it next to your toothbrush. That's when you remember to take it. So those are little tricks.
Sure, just basically take it, damn it. Okay, we have something here from Deb. I take what I think is a good pre and probiotic. Would I notice anything different? I've never had candida. So I guess the question is, if you're taking something, would you notice any difference in?
That's a really hard question to answer. Everybody's different. If you've got good gut health, you might not notice it, and you're taking a probiotic every day. And like I take it on a regular basis throughout most of the year, and it's just I think of it kind of like a an insurance policy, where I might have gaps in my diet and I'm not getting the things that I should from my diet. Then that's when I take my multivitamins, or I take my probiotics. I'm not always fantastic at taking fiber every day. So it's just a good way to fill the gaps, I think. But it depends on, if you're having issues with like gas or bloating or constipation, like you see on the label, that's what that formula is specifically good for. And you might notice that if that is an issue you had, it might go away. Oh, you're on mute, I think.
Sorry, there we are. Yeah. And there was a comment here in the chat someone shared, which was very nice. I started taking probiotics and noticed a difference in my bloating. So, and regular BM. So you're right, where everybody, depending on their issue, is going to notice something a bit differently with the improvement. And depending if it's gas or bloating, more regular bowel movements, whatever it is what they'll probably notice.
Yeah, perfect.
Do you recommend cutting out sugar completely, or can it still be used in moderation?
Depends. If you're dealing with parasites and candida, I always say you wouldn't go to war and feed the other army. So while you're trying to get rid of those two things, you want to be cutting it out. And that includes fruits, fruit juices, fermented foods, that means vinegars and soy sauces and all those things. If you go on to candidadiet.com, they can give you some really good direction. And you want to do it just while you're cleansing. It's not forever, but you'll be amazed. When I had candida and parasites, like my cravings were insane. I was getting up in the middle of the night, getting dressed, getting in the elevator, going in my car to get something sweet to eat. That's how bad my cravings were. Once I got rid of the candida, no more cravings. I knew it was them. It's those little buggers. They were like pulling the strings. I was just the marionette. They're like, go get the sugar. So while you're cleansing, cut it out. And chances are, if it was something that you craved before, once you get rid of the candida and parasites, and I will talk about it again. I know that we had a question earlier asking about parasites particularly, so I will get into that a bit more in a minute. But while you're cleansing, cut it out. If it's an everyday thing, you don't want to be feeding the bad bacteria. So are there better alternatives of sugars and stuff like that? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Excellent. Where is everything sourced? And I mean, that's a pretty broad question. So I don't know if you want to focus on where the probiotics are sourced from or where the fibers are sourced from. I'm not sure
The
specifically what.
the probiotics we use human, dairy, and plant-based strains. So they are fermented and they are extracted and then they are encapsulated. So it's basically, it's not like we get it from a new human every time. It's that mother strain has been cultured, and then it's grown and grown and grown and grown and grown. That's how probiotics are done. And then there's different, as far as the rest of our products, it's wherever we're going to get the ingredient from that's going to have the proper constituents. So I know some people might say, oh, I only want stuff that's, I don't know, sourced in Canada. Well, maybe we can't grow some of those things in Canada. If it's Cape Aloe or something like that, it's grown somewhere else in the world. So you want to make sure you want to make sure you've got the right ingredient that's going to have the right constituents. So we do testing up the wazoo, I can tell you that. We test it at the raw material level once it's been manufactured, and then we test it again when it comes in-house.
Perfect. Can you take probiotics at the same time as intestine?
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Okay. Should you always take a probiotic with prebiotics? And then so you can answer that question. And then how do you know you are taking a good one?
Oh, it depends. Again, you want to be looking at your symptoms. Are you having better poops? Are you having less gas and bloating? Like what benefits are you seeing when you take it? Taking the probiotics and the prebiotics together. The prebiotics feed the probiotics. It's the food. Prebiotics are what feeds them. So you can definitely take it at the same time. That's not a problem. And fiber is a good a source that feeds probiotics.
Okay. What sugar substitutes would you recommend?
Monk fruit's a good one. I like natural sugars. I like personally, I use either honey or maple syrup, because there's other benefits to those two sweeteners for me. I cannot do stevia. Oh, I do not like the taste of it at all. So I steer clear of that. So I do it in moderation. And then here's the other thing. If I do use something, I enjoy it. I don't get guilty about it. I always say pray over it and get over it. Just give thanks to it. Here's a prayer I always say. So thank you to the plant and animal world for their sacrifice, great abundance in me. Thank you to all the people that have brought this food to me. Please assimilate all the micro and macronutrients into my body perfectly. And whatever cannot be assimilated, please share it with the universe. And I share the energy of this food with all beings. So I say this every time I eat. And I'm not kidding you. It's one of the things I did that changed my digestion. I wasn't getting as gassy and bloaty as I did before. And it was just giving that mindful thanks to my food. And literally, I'm an energy medicine practitioner, so that also had something to do with it, is to understand that everything has frequency, everything has energy, and giving thanks and changing. If you ever see The Secret Life of Water, if you haven't, you should. It's amazing. It's that same type of principle. Yeah.
Awesome. The same question, or the same person that asked the question about sourcing, where things are sourced from, just put natural or man-made as a question. I don't know. I tried to clarify that. What
They're
exactly?
natural. Yeah. Like our cleanses, they're all herbs. Our enzymes are naturally derived enzymes. The probiotics they are live microorganisms. So yeah, it's not synthetic. We don't use synthetic.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let me just go in here, make sure I haven't missed anyone.
I think I still need to talk about parasites.
So this is one more question here. When is it best to add prebiotics with antibiotics only or other times as well?
Sorry, prebiotics or probiotics with
Well,
antibiotics?
it says prebiotics, but
Okay, so prebiotics feeds the probiotics. So I wouldn't necessarily say take prebiotics with antibiotics. Again, I would say take it 2 to 3 hours away Like if you're trying to feed the good bacteria, you don't want to be feeding the bad bacteria. Um, like the antibiotics, like if you're taking it at the same time as antibiotics, like are you then giving the bad bacteria food to kind of make them stronger? I don't know. So I'm just going off on a tangent there now, but it's hard to say.
Right. Okay. And then one last question we'll do here before you get into parasites. Would you suggest all three products for someone that has IBS with explosive diarrhea? She is concerned that it will cause her diarrhea worse. So I think when they're saying all three products, I think they're thinking, would they do the probiotics and the fiber and the intestine?
Yeah, it's fiber. If they have IBSD, it might be too much for them, the scratchy fiber. I would recommend that they go for a soluble fiber. So just a completely soluble formula. That would be a much better option, and I'm sure that you can find what you need at your local Nutter store. The so probiotics, I would start them off low and slow, just to make sure that they're not going to cause extra or more diarrhea. And the intestinal would be fine. The intestinal would be okay.
Okay. So why don't you get into parasites
Yep.
and we'll close it up.
Okay, yeah, and I just saw, is there a parasite cleanse that can be safe for kids? We used to have a parasite for kids, but we don't have it anymore. We have a kit called Paragon, and it's for adults. It's not for kids, and it's not for dogs. It's not for animals. People ask that question too. So it is a 15-day kit, and it works on parasites. It'll work, it's antimicrobial, antifungal, and antiparasitic. So it's going to work on multiple different types of organisms. It is a capsule and a tincture form. So the capsule is going to get into your digestive tract. The tincture will get into your bloodstream because parasites can be anywhere in the body. And as we learned with the leaky gut, when you have holes in your intestinal tract, that's how parasites can go anywhere in the body. So we could all have the same parasite and show different symptoms because we have different areas of acquired or, genetic differences where we've got weaknesses where the parasites are going to go and hang out and have a party. So the Paragon, you would take it first thing in the morning, and then you take it again in the evening. So you would take part one and part two together. In our cleansing kit, we've got a full body cleansing kit that you take part one in the morning and part two in the evening. That's not the same with Paragon. You would take both parts together twice a day. You would take it for 15 days, take a 5-day break, and then you take it again for another 15 days. You're taking that 5-day break because any parasites that have laid eggs are not going to hatch while you're cleansing. So giving it that break, they start to hatch, and then you hit them again with another dose. So that's something that you can do. I personally do it twice a year. I've had parasites multiple times. I garden without my gloves on. I walk barefoot in the sand and the dirt. If you sleep with your pets, there's lots of different ways you can get parasites. It's not just from travel or undercooked meat. And a very common question I get is, am I going to be on the toilet the whole time? No, you shouldn't be. Make sure you're taking fiber. Fiber is going to help to soak up and sweep out the parasites, the toxins that they're giving off. I see someone ask, how do you know you have parasites? There's some symptoms that are pretty common. The one that I notice the most for people is if you get the gas and bloating at night away from food, and you're distended every single night. You look like you're 7 months pregnant. That could be a sign that there's something microbial going on. If you get diarrhea, like unexplained, diarrhea, like if it's not IBS or something like that, maybe it's something that you ate that your body's trying to get rid of because, your body's saying, well, this shouldn't be here. Let's get rid of it. So that's another sign. Ravenous hunger. Itchy belly button. Kids get ants in their pants. Literally, they'll get parasites around their butthole. What else, what other ones are there? Those are probably the main ones. I would say diarrhea and the bloating are big ones. Yeah. So yeah, you can do Paragon a couple times a year. And some people say, well, what if I don't know if I have parasites or not? Like, is it going to hurt me? Unless you're allergic to one of the herbs, it's not going to be detrimental for you to do it. Like I said, I do it because I know I have exposure, and sometimes like I've had cholera and E. coli, so I know how sick you can get from parasites, and I just would rather be on the safe side.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bottom line is we all have them to a certain degree. It's just when they become like almost like overgrown, right? Where they're
Yeah,
multiplying.
exactly. Exactly.
So I've seen a lot of positive feedback in here, excellent information. Thank you so much. I'm just going to stop recording.